Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to Real Estate 411 on the Ted Show. I've got my very dear friend, the one and only Epique leader. He is a coach and a mentor and just an all around amazing human being, the one and only Walt Key with me. And each week we're going to talk about information going on in the world and your community about real estate specifically and all those crazy, as Walt says, nerd numbers. We talk about those on a regular basis too that actually impact the market. So welcome back, our first show of the year. Walt, how you doing?
I am doing good. Happy New Year. I can't believe it's the first show of 2026 already. It feels like the month is almost over for me. We launched our 100K challenge on Friday. I didn't slow down for the holidays, so I've got 3 listings going live this week, 4 more listings in active prep mode. Like, if you were asleep during the holidays, you're probably just now starting to wake up and go, oh my goodness, I have no closings. And if you did what we said and you were out there working when everyone else was sleeping, you should be doing okay right now.
So true, but not everybody listens.
Not everybody. Shame on them. Shame on them for not listening.
Before we get started, tell them a little bit about you.
Oh man, realtor, coach, published author, just a fun guy who likes to help people. I hate the term top producer. It's so cliche. It's so overused. But I'm a top producer. I close 30 to 50 deals a year on average. That's a whole lot more than most. And I try, like I tell people all the time, my goal is, I close some deals and pay some bills. My goal is to help agents replicate my success. So I just teach what I know. I don't do philosophy. I don't do flowery words. I'm just like, come over here. Let me walk you through what to do. Now go do it. And those that do it do really well. And those who sit around and wait for an easy button, they don't do so well.
And you're not just talking to talk. You actually have done all of the things that you teach. Yeah. So that's, to me, that's the difference. In one of the main differences, I think, in what you do is there's a lot of people out there. We talk about these pretend coaches out there who either have never done a real estate transaction in their life and all of a sudden they're a real estate coach, or they have never done any of the things that they're trying to get other people to implement. And so there's no test. They have no background. They have no proof that works. And yet they're out here giving it in some sort of ethereal kind of world. So
100%.
What you do and what you offer is
that's frustrating to me as a guy who tries to help people. If you aren't willing to do it yourself, you should never tell someone else to do it. Right. Correct. So the way we do it, and it's funny, we launched our 100K challenge again on Friday. And I told everybody on the launch call, I said, I'm so confident that what I'm teaching you works that I took the last 3 months of the year off. I've removed all of my Facebook Marketplace listings. I've stopped doing active prospecting. I've trimmed down my business as much as I can trim it down so that I can start fresh again with you in the challenge. I'm going to do the challenge right alongside you. So if you show up 2 weeks from now on the accountability call and you have no traction, I'm going to throw up my numbers right next to you and say, what are you not doing? Because I know it works. So it's so much more fun that way too, when you can all do it together. Like I get, like, you don't have to be a professional in order to coach at a professional level, right? Tiger Woods' coach is not a pro golfer. He's a golf pro, but he's not a professional, like Tiger Woods level golfer, right? Most football coaches, they played football, they know the game, but they're not like NFL champion level football players. That's okay. But you got to know the game if you're going to coach a real estate agent. You can't not be doing something and then say, well, just do that. You got to be at it yourself. So
you have to have the experience. You have to have the experience to back it up. I just feel like a lot of times people, I've noticed a lot. I follow coaches, just kind of see what they do. A lot of them, I'm just like, wow, that's wild. They're using ChatGPT and that's literally the only thing. And they have no backup. Like, it's great to get an idea. We should do a whole show about chat, but it's great for that kind of stuff. But if you haven't seen it in practice, I don't know why you're coaching your people to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So lots to talk about. Update us. What's going on in the world?
So when I think the last call we did in December, rates were around 6.25, maybe 6.3, if I recall correctly. Correct. We are now keeping the consistency of Mortgage News Daily, because that's what, just as a baseline, it's not the all encompassing, source of info, but it's a baseline for info. We're right at 6 now. And I'm hearing some lenders say we're at high fives. Like, we broke We're below the 6 mark.
Yes.
Which we knew was coming. You and I have been talking about this. This was not a
Yeah.
shock to us.
Yeah.
We've been pounding the pavement saying, buyers, go get ready or you're going to get caught up in the frenzy. We are starting to see the market respond very well, not to the 6 flat or 5.9, but the low 6s that we've had for now several months. We've been below 6.5 for several months.
Yes.
Consumer sentiment is starting to pick up. Listing activity is starting to pick up. November pending home sales index rose 3.3% in November to the highest index it's been in about 3 years, February of 2023. All of the indicators are starting to come together to say, yep, Walt and Ted's crystal ball was right on. Like, things are starting to move again.
Right.
So don't wait much longer, buyers, or you're going to be stuck fighting just like you were 4 or 5 years ago. You're going to be fighting against all the other buyers. Get out there and get your
Why
money.
do you think they're waiting?
There's most people in general, not just buyers. We won't pick on buyers. Most people, they're afraid of the unknown, but they don't go do their own homework to get the knowledge to be unafraid of the unknown. Correct. And then we have this curve where you get the early adopters, and then eventually you get the late adopters, and then you get the mass adoption, and then you get the laggards down the road. We're starting to see the early adopters go, yeah, I'm buying my house now.
Yep.
The longer you wait into that adoption curve, the more people are doing what you're trying to do, and you're competing against more people. So that's kind of why they do it that way. But
how are you feeling like the sellers are being? Are they coming down off whatever cloud they've been on for?
I think so. So I just having a conversation with a seller today. We're going to put their house on the market on Thursday. And they were on the market before with another agent, overpriced, weren't moving around. And they basically said, listen, I want to go in at this price, which is lower than they've put it on the market for at any point in the last 18 months. So they're starting to understand like the market's not as great. I have a client that I'm going to drive down and see his house on Saturday, but we've been talking for a little while. Same thing. He understands the market is shifting and things are starting to pick up now, but you can't overprice your house. So yeah. I think wise sellers are starting to understand it's not 2020. Wise real estate agents should be having that conversation with their sellers that it's not 2020. It is a more balanced market, which is a good thing in the long term. As listing activity continues to pick up, it's going to be your selling versus that selling versus that selling. And you're going to have to either be better in terms of condition, location, amenities, or you're going to have to be priced better, right? Correct. It is what it is. So you need a wise agent to get you where you need to be now.
You absolutely do.
Yeah.
What other numbers? How did I see some sort of jobs report came out?
Yeah, the jobs. Oh man, not surprisingly, the jobs reports have consistently been a little lackluster. So U.S. payroll in December rose less than expected. Not horrible numbers, 50,000 versus about 56,000, but still less than expected. But what we've talked about this before, what really hurts is the downward revisions that we saw for October, November. Yeah. So the October numbers were originally reported that we lost 105,000 jobs. The revision, we've lost 173,000 jobs in October, not 105. And then November was revised downward as well, not as drastically, but revised downward, 8,000. So you break all that numbers down over the last 6 months or so, the average monthly job growth has only been about 2,000 jobs a month in America. That's not good numbers. That's like a tenth of what economists would say were good baseline numbers. So The jobs market's definitely softening. It's tough. We talk about the Fed balancing jobs with interest rates. We've seen the interest rates come down. So now the conversation is, what's this job market going to do? What's not only the job market, but what are the pay gaps doing? Is increasing pay or decreasing pay keeping up with inflation? Where are we at with all this? But the jobs market aren't looking great. But I think Walt's crystal ball, I would anticipate that we won't see any rate changes by the Fed. The next meeting is January 28th. I would be incredibly shocked if they change the rates again, the Fed funds rate. For lots of reasons. One, again, we're at 6, we're at high 5s. That's a pretty good spot to be. We're seeing the market respond already. We just saw a shift in the market interest rates because President Trump told Fannie and Freddie, I want you guys to take some of the reserve cash you have and go buy a couple $100 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities. And that's a smart move. If you remember, actually in December, I think we talked about, he was talking about a 50-year mortgage.
Yes.
And I said, that's a horrible idea. That's stupid. We should not do that. Well, they've backed off of that now. They must have heard our show. Good for them. And now, rather than a 50-year mortgage that just makes buyers pay a whole lot more in interest and doesn't build equity, they've asked Fannie and Freddie to go start buying mortgage-backed securities. And that is actually a smarter move. We did see the rates respond to that because Fannie and Freddie are like, yeah, sure, we got the cash, we'll do that. Now, that's not all that dissimilar to what the Fed does with the way they buy treasury bills and things like that. They either bring in more into their inventory or they sell some off. It's a lever to help adjust the economy. So having Fannie and Freddie buy up those mortgage-backed securities that they would typically just package and sell to investors, it's a good thing that they're doing that. I think that would bring a far better result for the housing market than a 50-year mortgage would.
Will you explain that to somebody who hears you but doesn't understand why that can have a positive impact?
Yeah. So without getting super nerdy, when you buy a home, your lender typically isn't the only person buying your mortgage, right? Your lender is going to give you the mortgage. Once it's all closed and settled, they're going to sell your mortgage on what they call the secondary market. And what happens is all of the mortgages get bundled up together into what is called a mortgage-backed security. It's an investment. And then they're sold on the secondary market to investors who ultimately own your mortgage through the bank, but your bank's not holding the asset because they only have so much in reserves, et cetera. So rather than having all the investors buy those mortgage-backed securities on their own, having Fannie and Freddie, which are the largest mortgage providers, buy some of those assets, it changes the liquidity of how much mortgage-backed securities are out there. And just like when the Fed buys treasuries or when they sell treasuries, it affects the liquidity of the bonds, and liquidity is a primary mover of investment. So we see yields change based on liquidity and demand. And so ultimately what they're doing is they're playing with the levers of liquidity and demand in order to push interest rates down a little bit. And we saw shortly after that announcement, I want to say about 1/10% drop in the mortgage rate. They responded well to that. Now, will we see some more adjustments to that? Maybe over the next couple months as they actually start buying them, but maybe not so much because we've talked about this before too. The mortgage market tends to be a little more reactive, and so when they hear something coming, they'll get ahead of it. Just like when we talked about the Fed, hey, they're probably going to cut rates. We start seeing those rates decrease usually a couple weeks before they ever actually announce they're cutting the rates.
Correct.
So we saw them adjust for the announcement. We may not see huge adjustments when they actually start buying the assets, and that's okay. It's already really served its purpose. I mean, it pushed us from 6.1, 6.2 down to 6, maybe 5.9. And so even assuming no rate change for the Fed in January, mortgage rates are looking pretty solid right now.
They look great. I don't know. I just feel like there's a renewed positive. I feel like people are at least in the real estate world, I'm feeling people are feeling a little more secure in their decision to either buy or sell. And let me ask you, no politics, of course, because we don't really get political on this show. Do you think that the video that the Fed chairman made is going to make any impact on interest rates or what's going on in our wonderful market?
No, probably not. Probably not.
No, I actually follow stuff because of you now. I
love it. So it's interesting. So, and for those who don't know, again, not to get political, I'm just giving facts. There was a congressional hearing a while back where the feds had to basically account for the fact that they were $700 million over budget on the renovation of their new Fed building.
Yes.
And so Congress was like, bro, that's our money. What are you doing? That's $700 million over budget, not $700 million project, $700 million over budget. Yeah. What's going on here? And at that congressional hearing, Fed chair said some things. It later came out. It looks like some of the things he said, whether he meant to or not, were factually inaccurate, which means he lied to Congress. Lying to Congress is a crime. I know some people may not think so because Congress is a bunch of liars too, right? But
fair enough.
the administration has said, I think we're going to open a Department of Justice investigation here because you're $700 million over budget. Maybe you're not being responsible with the money. And oh, by the way, we think you lied to Congress about it. We're going to look into this. The Fed has countered that and said this is nothing more than the administration's attempt to influence the decisions we make through political beating us up, essentially. Yes. Does that change anything? I don't think so. It's rhetoric back and forth. I don't see the Fed doing anything different. They are independent, generally speaking, of any administration. The Fed's going to do what they believe is right based on data and the economy. Should they be investigated for being $700 million over budget and potentially lying to Congress? Look, man, there's so many things you can investigate for people these days. I don't know, but you can't lie to Congress, whether they're lying to you or not. I wish we could investigate Congress for the lies they tell. Right?
I'm not sure we'd have any Congress people left.
Right? They'd all be gone. Right? We know this. So a lot of interesting tensions back and forth. These tensions are actually not new. The president and the Fed chair have not liked each other for a while now. So there's just kind of some high school bickering going on. I don't foresee it changing anything dynamically in the way the Fed does business or the way the interest rates move.
Agreed. So any other reports that we should know about?
Well, so this week we've got some Tuesday, we got CPI report coming out, the consumer price index. That's one of the primary indicators of where inflation is at. Fed looks at that very closely. This is actually the first full and complete CPI report since the shutdown happened, because the way data got jumbled around and some things got not only was it not reported, it just simply wasn't collected. So this CPI report on Tuesday, a lot of people are eyeballing that. And then Wednesday we have PPI, the producer price report. This is a report that talks about what does it actually cost the producers of things to buy the raw materials to produce. Consumer price index is what does it cost me as a consumer to go buy the thing. So both of those are important. CPI a little bit more so. And then on Thursday, we have an initial jobless claims report. Again, going back to the jobs market, how are things looking as we all of those reports are typically about a month lagging. So we're talking about November, December timeframe numbers when we get those reports in January. But those are the three big reports to watch this week. CPI on Tuesday, PPI on Wednesday, initial jobless claims on Thursday. And of course, we'll break all these down for you next week. And tell you what they look like, tell you what they mean. And then really the only other thing is the president had mentioned he would like to see institutional investors stop purchasing so much real estate and turning them into rental properties. I go back and forth on this. A lot of people say, well, that's a great idea because, we need that inventory on the market for the average home buyer, yada, yada, yada. But in reality, institutional big players, right? Institutional investors only actually account for about 3% of the real estate purchases in America. It sounds like they're out there just scooping everything up, but it's 3%. It's not a huge number. And the other part I don't like when the federal government starts telling capitalism how to work. Right. That usually doesn't go well. I would be okay if the individual states got together and said, how do we feel about institutional investors that own more than X number of properties buying property in our state? And if the states want to individually make policies to limit investors buying up that's one thing. I don't know that the federal government needs to be in that ball of wax. And then the other thing I would say to that is, just from an investor myself, by no means a multi-$100 billion institutional investor, a lot of the investments that get bought up, they get bought up by investors that are taking a beat up, rundown property, fixing it up, and then putting it as a rental at top market. Well, the reason that those institutional investors can buy those properties is because the average home buyer can't buy them anyway, because the condition of the property is such they don't qualify for traditional mortgages. Your first-time home buyer with an FHA loan can't go buy this beat-up, rundown, disrepaired property anyway. They're not in the running. So by all means, let an institutional cash investor do it. When you think about that, if you look at Fannie and Freddie, right, they both have what first look programs within their foreclosures, right? So let's say Fannie and Freddie put a home path or home forward or homeward, and they say 123 Main Street is a foreclosure. We're putting it up for sale. There's a first look period, usually 30 days or so, where investors of any kind aren't allowed, even mom and pop investors aren't allowed to buy it. It's only for people who want to purchase it as their primary residence. So we've already got some guardrails built in for that as it is. Usually those get bought by investors after the 30-day first look period is expiring, because why? The average homeowner can't buy those. They can't qualify a mortgage on them, and they can't buy them anyway.
Right.
So I don't know that we need to be telling any investor what they can and can't do on a federal level. If the states want to do some stuff, then that's one thing. I don't think the federal government should be involved in it. Walt Key.
All right. So I'm cognizant of your time, but I have one last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
And we really don't talk about this enough, and I think we should talk about it more. What's like if you were to talk to someone and they said, "What's the one thing, Walt, that I should be working on right now?" And I'm talking about a realtor, somebody in the real estate market, who is either struggling or had a rough year in 2025 or hasn't had the greatest guidance. What's one process or one thing that they should take a look at in order to kind of start to move the needle?
So for me, it's a step one for every agent I've ever coached, even the 100K challenge that I put agents through. Some of those agents are already productive, but they just want to be more. So everything starts with the baseline. You have to build out your business plan. You have to know what your monetary goals are. You have to know what strategies you're going to be executing to achieve those goals. You have to know what day of the week and what hour of the day am I going to sit my butt down and do the work.
Yep. You
have to put some framework to your business in place. It's like building a house, right? The business plan, the goals, the calendar management, the strategies, that is the foundation of your business. And if you don't have that, everything else you're trying to do is going to be really wobbly. You don't build walls on dirt. You lay a concrete slab first. And so you really got to look at what are your actual monetary goals? Reasonably, like what are you trying to achieve and why? And what strategies are you going to execute in order to achieve those things? Yes. And then once you've identified that, you got to go to your calendar. And I tell people to build out their calendar 1 week in advance, on purpose in advance. So on Monday morning, you just go to work. Yep. What day of the week and hour of the day am I going to do that thing? Yes. It should be on your calendar before Monday rolls around. And then do the work, right? You made the plan on purpose, execute the plan.
What? I made the plan. I have to do the work.
But if you don't make a plan, right? I tell people all the time, if you don't have a target, you will miss it every time.
Correct.
If you have a target and you miss it by a little bit, you're still hitting in the direction you wanted to be, but you have to have a target. You got to have some clear direction on what you're trying to do for your business.
Yes, agreed. I agree. All right. Well, always amazing to have you on the show and share all your knowledge. What's the best way they can find you?
Just go to Linktree /Walt Key or put in Walt Key Realtor. You'll find me. I'm big on Facebook. We have an Eventbrite profile. I'm everywhere. Look for the Schmuck and Hawaiian shirt. You can't miss me.
All right, my friend. Always a joy. I appreciate you. Thanks for always sharing with our real estate community.
Absolutely.
I think it's so important for them to understand where they're going, because some of us get a little bit of that, but most of us really kind of just flail. And so having that business plan, and I've been in on one of your business planning sessions, I think it's so important. All right, we'll be back next week. We'll see you guys soon. Reach out to Walt, reach out to me. We'd love to help you. If you have any questions or things you want us to talk about on the show, please let us know. All right, my friend.